Welcome back, Focus learners, to another explainer. Today, we're exploring a fascinating, hidden, city-like organization that exists right under our noses. When you walk into a forest or a meadow, you're not just stepping into a random collection of trees and grass. You're actually stepping into a highly structured, intricately planned metropolis. I mean, seriously, think about it for a second. How do so many different plants and animals manage to live together in one place without just driving each other completely crazy? Or, without eating all the same food and entirely running out of space? We usually assume that a wild forest is just this random, chaotic jumble of living things fighting for survival. But nature is way too smart for that. To figure out how nature pulls this off, we need to talk about what scientists call a biocenosis. Now, that's just a fancy word for a living community of organisms. But the real secret here is that they are arranged in space and definitely not randomly. This incredibly precise arrangement is what we call spatial structure. Think of it as the ultimate real estate blueprint for the natural world. Okay, let's just dive right in. Today, we're going to cover the blueprint of nature, take a trip down through the vertical structure, check out the animal life in those layers, move across the horizontal structure, and then wrap up with why all this spatial structure actually matters. First up, Section 1, the blueprint of nature, a bird's eye view. When you really examine an ecosystem, you start to realize that nature is just incredibly well organized. You've got two main types of spatial structure happening at the exact same time. There's vertical structure, which is how things are layered from top to bottom, and horizontal structure, which is how things are spread out from side to side. So what looks like a chaotic green blur to us is actually meticulously zoned. Moving right along to Section 2, vertical structure. Going down, we're talking stratification in the forest. We call this vertical layering stratification. Let's imagine we're taking a virtual elevator from the sunlit penthouse all the way down to the dark basement. As the doors open on the very top floor, we find the tree layer. This is where tall oaks, pines, and maples soak up the absolute most sunlight. Moving down one level, we hit the shrub layer, which is a fantastic safe shelter and food source filled with small trees and bushes, like hazel. Taking the elevator further down, we reach the herb layer, packed with ferns and flowers where insects like bees and ladybugs are busy collecting nectar. Step out near the bottom and you're in the moss and lichen layer. This forms a kind of green carpet that holds on to essential moisture and provides tiny little habitats. And finally, the basement, the underground layer, which is a bustling hidden home for fungi, insect larvae, and massive networks of plant roots. So you might be wondering, why does nature go through all the trouble of building in tiers like this? Well, this vertical zoning is really nature's genius way of sharing resources. By stacking habitats on top of each other, the ecosystem makes significantly better use of sunlight. It drastically reduces competition, because organisms aren't all fighting over the exact same patch of dirt. It simply creates way more places to live, meaning a lot more species can live together in total harmony. Next up, Section 3, Animal Life in the Layers, finding the perfect apartment. Just like human apartment hunters, animals have their specific preferences. Take our top layer residents, for example. You have these high-flying lifestyles, birds of prey like eagles and hawks, completely dominating the penthouse. Then you've got squirrels and songbirds dashing through the tree and shrub layers, with owls generally taking up the middle sections. Now compare that to our ground and soil residents. There's absolutely no way you're going to find a hedgehog hanging out in an oak canopy. They strictly live on the ground floor. Meanwhile, earthworms and insect larvae take the subterranean route down in the soil. The vertical layers completely dictate their entirely different living spaces. Shifting gears to Section 4, horizontal structure, moving across and exploring mosaicity. Now, if you take a walk through that same forest, you'll notice a concept called mosaicity. Think of a beautiful mosaic art piece made of tons of different colored tiles. Mosaicity is basically that same patchiness, but within a biocenosis. It means the landscape is broken up into different areas, or patches, where each spot has its own totally unique conditions and its own specific set of organisms. They're basically like distinct specialized neighborhoods located right next door to each other. It is wildly fascinating how drastically a single forest changes just by walking a few yards. Take a few steps into a dense forest patch, and boom, it's shady and humid, absolutely perfect for mosses and ferns. But walk just a little further into a sunny glade, and suddenly you're hit with abundant light, bringing in flowering plants, bees, and butterflies. Stumble your way toward a stream and you're in a wet area completely ruled by reeds, aquatic plants, and frogs. Wander over to a dry open patch with really thin soil, and it's an entirely different world of sun-loving grasses, ants, and lizards. It's literally a patchwork quilt of microhabitats. And hey, Mosaicity isn't just a forest thing. Meadows are heavily zoned into these specific real estate patches too. A single meadow has distinct zones. You've got tall grasses where insects love to hide, a flowering patch buzzing with bees, maybe a wet edge near a stream for frogs, a rocky patch where lichens cling for dear life, and even patches of just bare ground that are perfect for specific beetles and ants. Just like a forest has its shady mushroom spots or berry-filled shrub thickets, a meadow is perfectly and naturally partitioned. Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, Why Spatial Structure Matters, Nature's Master Plan. So let's look at the ultimate checklist of nature's efficiency. Why does all this spatial structure actually matter? Because it helps organisms use resources so much more efficiently. It actively reduces competition between species. By creating such a massive variety of habitats, both vertically and horizontally, it supports a huge number of species. And honestly, most importantly, all of this complex organization is exactly what makes the ecological community robust, resilient, and stable. Our source material sums up the magic of ecosystems absolutely perfectly. It says, thanks to vertical structure and mosaicity, many different species can live together in one biocenosis without interfering with each other. Nature is just unbelievably well organized, literally keeping the peace through its architecture. So, I want to leave you with this thought today. Next time you step out your door and into nature, whether you're hiking through a towering forest or just walking past a simple meadow, what are you going to see? Are you going to see a random, chaotic jumble of life? Or are you going to see the meticulously planned, beautifully structured city that's been right there all along? Thanks for joining me on this Explainer Focus Learners. Keep exploring, and I'll see you next time.